My twin sister framed me for her crimes. I secretly recorded her confession. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. Imagine watching your own face on the evening news. Your name splashed across headlines. Your family looking at you like a stranger. Your world collapsing with every lie. That's how it started for me. My twin sister, Ivy, smiling sweetly beside our devastated parents while I was handcuffed on the porch. They said I'd stolen from the company where we both worked, that I'd forged signatures, funneled money into accounts I'd never even heard of. The police found evidence in my desk, on my computer, in texts sent from my number. Only I knew the truth. I'd been framed. And not just by anyone. By the one person who knew every password, every habit, every weakness I had. My own twin. Ivy was always the charming one, the one everyone adored. I was quieter, careful, the good twin. Maybe that's why no one doubted her when she played the victim. Maybe that's why my protests sounded so desperate. As the trial dragged on, I lost my job, most of my friends, and, worst of all, my family's trust. Our parents divided down the middle. Dad believed me, but Mom stood by Ivy, convinced I'd finally snapped from jealousy. I spent nights awake, replaying every memory. Missed calls, Ivy's late-night whispers, that one time my laptop went missing for an hour. The signs were all there, in hindsight, just buried beneath my need to believe in her. But it wasn't until I overheard Ivy on the phone, laughing with her accomplice about how easy it had been, that I realized I had to fight back. I bought a cheap recorder, hid it in my purse, and waited. I knew if she found out, everything, what little I had left, would be gone. But it was my only shot at freedom. So I played the loyal sister, nodding at her stories, biting my tongue as she boasted about her new car and designer clothes. I waited for the right moment, for Ivy to drop her guard. My heart pounded every second, terrified she'd see through me. Then, one night, she did something I never saw coming. And I realized the nightmare wasn't over. It was just beginning. The night Ivy nearly caught me is burned into my memory. She came home late, a little drunk, perfume clouding the air as she tossed her purse onto the counter. I was in the living room, pretending to scroll through job postings, palms sweaty as the recorder hummed quietly in my bag. She flopped beside me, grinning. "Rough day, huh? Maybe you should get out more." Her words stung, but I forced a smile. "Yeah, maybe." She leaned in, voice dropping. "You know, you really should just take the plea deal. The lawyers said you'll barely do time if you admit it. The company just wants someone to blame." My throat tightened. I wanted to scream. "I didn't do anything, Ivy." She laughed, the sound brittle. "Oh, sweetie, everyone slips up. You were always so perfect. Maybe this'll humble you." Her eyes glittered, daring me to protest. I just nodded, while rising in my throat. After she went to bed, I pressed stop on the recorder, heart pounding. Was that enough? Would anyone believe a few snide words over all her careful lies? I lay awake, replaying every conversation, searching for gaps in her armor. The next day, my old friend Mark messaged me. He was the only one who hadn't disappeared since my arrest, always insisting, "I know you, not her." We met at a coffee shop, and I handed him the recorder. He listened, jaw tightening. "It's a start," he said. "But you need more. Ivy's smart. She covers her tracks. If we're going to prove she framed you, we have to catch her bragging. Get her to confess, in detail." Despair settled over me, heavy and cold. I was so tired, of fighting, of doubting myself, of living in her shadow. But I had no choice. Ivy had stolen my life. I had to get it back. That night, as I slipped the recorder into my bag again, Ivy's bedroom door creaked open. She stood in the hallway, eyes narrowed, voice a razor. "Why are you always up so late these days? What are you really doing, sis?" I froze, Ivy's gaze pinning me like an insect. My mind raced. If she found the recorder, it was over. I forced a yawn and shrugged, doing my best to look bored. Just insomnia. It's not like I have a job to get up for anymore. She hovered in the doorway, lips curled in a half smirk. "You always were the anxious one." Her eyes darted to my bag on the coffee table. For a terrifying second, I thought she might lunge for it, but then her phone buzzed and she turned away, muttering, "Try not to get into any more trouble." When her door clicked shut, my knees gave out. I pressed my head into my hands and tried to breathe. This wasn't just a hunt for evidence. It was a game of survival. The next morning, Mark called with a plan. Invite her out. Somewhere public. Get her talking. I'll hang nearby with my phone recording, just in case. The idea terrified me, but I agreed. That afternoon, I found Ivy in the kitchen, humming as she counted cash. Want to grab drinks tonight? My treat. She raised an eyebrow, but nodded. Why not? Loser's night out. We met at our old haunt, a bar where no one knew the drama. Mark sat in a corner, pretending to watch sports. I played the part of broken sister, letting Ivy gloat. She started to relax, her words loosening with every cocktail. You know, it really was too easy. Nobody ever suspects the charming one. It's almost sad how desperate you looked in court. I feigned laughter, my stomach twisted in knots. Guess I was never as clever as you, Ivy. She grinned, eyes sharp. You'll never be. But I'll give you credit. You almost fooled Mom and Dad. She leaned in, whispering, You should have seen your face when they arrested you. Mark texted, Got it. Keep her talking. Suddenly, Ivy's phone flashed with a message. Her face changed, suspicious, calculating. She looked at me, all amusement gone. What are you up to? She hissed. Panic shot through me. I realized the most dangerous thing about twins. No one can see through you faster than your own reflection. The bar's warm glow turned icy. Ivy's stare burned through me. Seriously, she pressed, voice low. Who are you texting? Or are you setting me up? My heart hammered. I tried to laugh, holding up my phone. Just Mark, he's worried about me. You know, the only person who hasn't bailed. For a moment, I saw uncertainty flicker across her face. Mark, quick on his feet, stood and walked past our table, giving a casual nod. Ladies, he said, then disappeared out the door. Ivy's eyes narrowed, but she couldn't prove anything. Not yet. We finished our drinks in uneasy silence. Ivy finally stood. Don't ever try to play games with me, she hissed as we left the bar. I always win. Back at home, she slammed her door so hard the frames rattled. Alone in my room, I checked Mark's message. I got everything. She practically confessed. It's good, but maybe not enough for a courtroom yet. I buried my face in my pillow, sobs racking my body. How did it come to this? My own sister, my twin, waging war against me for reasons I still didn't understand. Jealousy? Boredom? Some deep, festering grudge? Every day, the lines between us blurred, and I feared I'd never claw my way free of her shadow. The next morning, the fallout hit. Mom called, voice cold. Ivy says you threatened her last night. What is wrong with you? Rage and heartbreak battled in my chest. She's lying, Mom. Why won't you believe me? I don't know what to believe anymore, she whispered, then hung up. I stared at my reflection, hollow-eyed. I was losing everything, my family, my name, my sanity. But Mark's next message brought me back. If she's scared, she'll slip up. I've got a friend, private investigator. He's already digging. Don't give up. I texted back. She won't stop until she destroys me. But I won't let her win. In the quiet, I made a vow. If Ivy wanted a war, I'd fight for my truth, no matter the cost. The days blurred into one another, each colored by Ivy's twisted campaign. She turned small things into weapons, accusing me of breaking her favorite mug, of hacking her email, even of stealing her necklace, which I later found hidden in her sock drawer. Mom and Dad's calls grew less frequent, their voices more distant each time. Just make peace with your sister, Mom pleaded. We can't handle any more drama. Ivy played the perfect daughter, bringing groceries for our parents, texting them photos of us smiling, carefully cropped so my red-rimmed eyes and clenched jaw didn't show. She fed them stories of my meltdowns and obsessions, and the world believed her, because Ivy knew how to play it sweet. One night, I woke to find her standing in my doorway, silhouetted by the hall light. Why don't you just confess and get it over with, she whispered. People would forgive you. Eventually. My voice shook. You set me up. You know you did. She smiled, cold, pitying. No one cares what you think, or what you know. They care about what they see, and they see you falling apart. Her words crawled into my skin. I started doubting myself. Was I losing my mind? Was this some sick nightmare I couldn't wake from? But then Mark sent a text. The investigator found something. Call me when you can. I snuck out to meet Mark and the PI, a gruff woman named Dina who seemed allergic to small talk. She handed me a folder. Ivy's been wiring money to an account in her name, using your credentials. She slipped up 2 days ago. Same cafe you used to go to together. I flipped through surveillance photos. There was Ivy, signing my name, her face serene. "We're close," Dina said. "But it needs to be airtight. One slip, and she'll walk." For the first time in weeks, hope flickered inside me. Maybe, just maybe, I could win. But when I got home, Ivy was waiting, eyes wild. She held up my phone, screen flashing with Mark's messages. "So this is how you want to play?" she spat. And suddenly, I realized I wasn't the only one recording. Ivy's lips curled in a smirk as she scrolled through my phone, reading Mark's messages aloud in a mockingly sweet voice. "Poor you. Framed by your evil twin. How dramatic." She tossed the phone on the table, daring me to snatch it back. "You really think you can beat me at my own game?" I tried to keep my voice steady. "I just want the truth." She laughed, sharp as glass. "The truth? Truth is whatever people believe. And right now, they believe me." She circled me, eyes glittering with a manic triumph. "You think you're the only one who can play detective? I've been one step ahead from the start." Fear twisted in my stomach. I realized Ivy hadn't just manipulated my life. She'd predicted every move. I'd been playing her game, by her rules. But Mark and Dina's evidence was real, and for the first time, I had allies. I straightened my spine. "You can't erase everything, Ivy. Even you make mistakes." Her face hardened, but she masked it quickly. "Careful, sis. If you keep pushing, maybe I'll tell the police about your little confession from last night. Or should I send those texts to Mom?" She was bluffing. I hadn't confessed to anything. But Ivy was dangerous, and I couldn't underestimate her. "Do what you need to," I said quietly. "But it's not over." She stalked off, but not before slamming the door so hard a picture fell from the wall. Our childhood photo, glass shattering. I stared at the fragments, my reflection split and jagged. That night, Mark called. "Dina's got a plan. One more push, get Ivy to talk, get her angry. We'll be ready to record from outside. This is it." My hands shook as I texted Ivy, baiting her into a meeting. I had to risk everything for the truth. As I hit send, I caught my own reflection in the broken glass. Not the victim anymore. The hunter, not the prey. Tomorrow, the truth would finally come to light. Or I'd lose myself forever. The next day dawned gray and tense. I could barely choke down breakfast, nerves twisting my insides. Dina parked a block away, Mark waiting in her car with the recording gear. All I had to do was get Ivy to meet me at our childhood park, the one place she let her mask slip, where old wounds always resurfaced. I texted Ivy, "Meet me at the park. No games, just us. If you want me to drop everything, I need to hear it from you." She replied almost instantly, "Fine. But this is the last time." My heart thundered as I made my way to the swings, the ghosts of our laughter from years ago echoing in the wind. Ivy arrived late, sunglasses hiding her eyes. She slid onto the swing beside me, pushing off slowly. "So, you want to beg for forgiveness?" she sneered. I played along, voice trembling. "I just want to know why. Why you did it. I always loved you, Ivy. I would have done anything for you." She barked a laugh. "That's exactly why. You were always the favorite, Mom's golden girl, Dad's pride. I was the shadow. I wanted to see how much I could take from you before you broke." Her words sliced through me, raw and unfiltered. I pressed harder. "Was any of it real? Did you ever care about me at all?" She sighed, glancing at her reflection in the metal chains. "I cared once, but you made it too easy. I knew you'd never fight back, until now." I stole a glance at the bushes where Mark was hiding, hoping the recorder was catching every word. "You ruined my life, Ivy. For what? Money? Attention?" She shrugged, lips curling into a cruel smile. "Both. And because I could." That was it, the confession. I felt a weight begin to lift. But then Ivy turned, her smile vanishing. "You recorded this, didn't you?" I tried to hide my panic, but she lunged, grabbing my bag and dumping its contents onto the grass, searching for the recorder. Her eyes narrowed as she spotted Mark in the distance. And suddenly, I realized I wasn't the only one with a trap set today. Chaos erupted in an instant. Ivy's hand closed around my bag, ripping it open as she scanned for any sign of a recorder. She was trembling with fury now, her veneer of control crumbling right in front of me. In the corner of my eye, I saw Mark step out from behind the bushes, phone in hand, face tight with worry. Dina hung back, watching everything unfold with cold calculation. "Give it to me," Ivy hissed, her nails digging into my wrist. "You think you can outsmart me? You always were pathetic. I wrenched free, desperation breaking through my fear. It's over, Ivy. They heard everything. You admitted it. All of it. For the first time, I saw something flicker in her eyes. Fear, then pure rage. You think anyone will believe you over me? You think Mom will? Her voice rose, desperate. I'm still the one they love. Not you. Mark moved closer, recording everything. It's done, Ivy. You can't take it back. She spun on him, voice raw. Stay out of this. This is between me and my sister. People in the park began to stare. I stepped back, shaking, but I refused to look away. You tried to destroy me, I said quietly. But you underestimated me. I'm not your shadow anymore. Ivy's lips curled into a snarl, but Dina stepped forward, flashing her investigator's badge. It's all on tape. The police are on their way. Don't make it worse, Ivy. For a moment, I thought she'd run. Instead, she collapsed onto the swing, sobbing. It was supposed to be my turn, she whispered, her voice suddenly small. Sirens wailed in the distance. Mark squeezed my hand. You did it. But as I watched Ivy, broken and furious, I knew the worst wasn't over yet. My family was about to be torn apart by the truth, and some wounds would never heal. The police arrived before Ivy could regain her composure. She tried to plead, to twist the story, but Dina and Mark handed over the recordings and surveillance photos. For the first time, the authorities looked at me with something other than suspicion. The lead officer's voice was gentle as he read Ivy her rights, but the shame in her eyes cut deeper than any accusation. My hands shook as I gave my statement. Ivy sat in the back of the squad car, mascara streaking down her cheeks, shooting me a glare that promised this wasn't the end. As the car pulled away, the park felt impossibly quiet. Mark and Dina walked me home. You did what you had to, Mark said. It's over. But was it? When I opened the front door, my parents were waiting, faces stony, confusion and grief swirling in their eyes. Mom broke the silence first. What have you done to your sister? My heart pounded. She confessed, Mom. She framed me. The evidence is with the police. Mom shook her head, tears streaming down her face. That can't be. Ivy would never. Dad's voice was hollow. We heard the recording. Dina played it for us. There's no denying it now. The words seemed to hang in the air, too heavy to touch. Mom collapsed into a chair, sobbing, torn between her daughters. Dad hugged me, but the relief was bittersweet. News spread fast. Friends messaged, some apologizing for doubting me, others too embarrassed to say a word. The company called, offering a tentative apology and considering a formal statement. I felt numb. Ivy's absence haunted every room. I wandered through the house, feeling both lighter and emptier. I'd won, but the victory didn't taste the way I thought it would. That night, as I tried to sleep, my phone buzzed. A blocked number. I answered, breath catching. Ivy's voice, low and cold. You took everything from me. This isn't over, sis. You'll never be free of me. Sleep was a stranger after Ivy's call. Her voice echoed in the darkness, feeding a knot of dread in my chest. Every creak in the house felt like her footsteps, every shadow a threat. I wondered if she would really let it go, or if she'd find a way to strike from the shadows, even behind bars. Morning brought no comfort. The news had spread. I was the girl who caught her twin, sympathy and fascination from people who once crossed the street to avoid me. Some called me brave. Others whispered about family curses, about bad blood. I kept my head down and tried to breathe, but the scars ran deep. Mom didn't speak to me for days. Dad was a quiet anchor, making coffee and sitting by my side in silence. I caught him crying once, alone in the garage, the weight of both his daughters nearly crushing him. Mark and Dina checked in constantly, urging me to go to therapy, to document every threat. She won't be out for a long time, Dina assured me. But you have to be careful. You know Ivy, she doesn't let go. The legal process dragged on. Ivy pleaded guilty to lesser charges, her confession impossible to erase. She'd be away for years, but she never apologized. Her final words in court haunted me. You think you're free, but you'll always be nothing without me. Even now, her shadow lingered in my mind. I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, a letter, a rumor, a new accusation. But instead, life began to settle. My old boss called, offering me my job back. Mark invited me to dinner, treating me like someone worth believing in again. Still, every time I looked in the mirror, I saw both our faces superimposed. Would I ever be whole again? Or would I always live as the girl who outed her own blood? That night, I lay awake, the silence pressing in. And in that quiet, I made a promise to myself. If Ivy ever came back, I would be ready, no matter what it cost. Days turned into weeks. Ivy was gone, but her presence still clung to the walls, her perfume in the hallway, her handwriting on forgotten notes, the echo of her laughter and family memories that now felt poisoned. I tried to reclaim my life, but every step forward felt like walking through glass. At work, people eyed me with curiosity and pity. My boss gave me lighter projects, coworkers tiptoed around the story, and I caught them whispering when they thought I couldn't hear. It stung, but Mark was always there, taking me out for coffee, inviting me to escape for a few hours of normalcy. For the first time, I began to believe I deserved that. Dad grew more attentive, clinging to routines. He'd text just to say he loved me. But Mom was distant, a ghost in her own home, wandering from room to room, eyes red. Sometimes she'd stop and stare at me, like she was searching for the other twin, the good one who had always known what to say. One night, I found her sitting in Ivy's empty room, clutching an old photograph of us as children. She looked up, pain etched deep. I just don't understand. You were so close. You used to finish each other's sentences. I sat beside her, tears prickling my eyes. She made her choices, Mom. But so did I. I had to save myself. Mom nodded, silent, but the words hung heavy. Afterward, I sat in my own room, replaying every chapter of our lives, wondering if, deep down, I'd ever really known my sister at all. Then, one morning, a letter arrived. No return address, just my name in Ivy's handwriting. My heart pounded as I opened it. Inside, a single sentence. You think you won, but you're still living in my story. Fear, anger, and a strange, sad relief tangled in my chest. Even from afar, Ivy wasn't done with me. But I realized, as the sunlight spilled across my desk, I wasn't the same scared twin she'd once controlled. I folded the letter away, determination rising. For the first time, I felt something close to freedom, and I vowed I'd never give it up again. I kept Ivy's letter in a drawer, not as a threat, but as a reminder. I'd survived her worst. Some days it felt like I was still looking over my shoulder, half expecting her to materialize with a new scheme, a new accusation. But slowly, the world shifted. My job grew busier. Coworkers grew comfortable enough to joke with me again, and Mark, always patient, became something more than just a friend. Still, I wrestled with guilt. Was it wrong to want peace, to feel happiness when my sister's life was in ruins? Therapy helped. My therapist told me, you didn't create the darkness, you just refused to let it drown you. I clung to that, repeating it whenever doubts crept in. Mom stayed distant, but Dad encouraged me to visit old friends, to let people back in. I did, tentatively, and was surprised by their warmth. A few even apologized for believing Ivy's lies. It stung, but it also made me realize how much power she'd had, and how much lighter I felt without it. One evening, Mark brought dinner to my place. We ate on the porch, laughter filling the gaps where sorrow used to live. You're stronger than you think, he said, his hand finding mine. She can't write your story anymore. Only you can. Those words echoed inside me. That night, I dug out my childhood journal and began to write again, not about Ivy, but about myself. My dreams, my fears, the parts of me that existed long before her shadow. A week later, another letter arrived, short, bitter, and threatening legal action over defamation. I gave it to Dina, who just rolled her eyes. She's grasping. Ignore it. Live your life. So I did. I signed up for a painting class. I let myself hope. Ivy might always linger at the edge of my world, but for the first time, she wasn't the one holding the pen. And as I painted my first canvas, a sunrise, bright and defiant, I felt the truth. I could survive anything, even the scars left by the person who knew me best. Spring washed over the city, carrying the promise of renewal. I found myself breathing easier, letting go of old routines built around fear. The more I filled my life with color, new friends from my painting class, morning runs with Mark, coffee dates with coworkers, the less space there was for Ivy's ghost. Still, there were reminders. The legal case dragged on, Ivy's lawyers sending threats that never seemed to materialize. Mom remained distant, But at least she started answering my calls. Our conversations stiff but civil. Dad, ever my quiet champion, planted new flowers in the backyard and invited me over for Sunday dinners, determined to patch what was left of our family. One afternoon, Dina stopped by with good news. They're dropping the last charges. With the evidence you and Mark collected, the judge sees you as a victim. It's almost over. Relief crashed through me so hard I had to sit down. Dina smiled, softer than I'd ever seen her. Don't let her steal any more of your life, okay? You deserve to be happy. Mark arrived later that evening with a bottle of wine. We sat on my porch, laughter rising in the night air. Do you ever wish things were different? He asked quietly. I thought of Ivy, of all we'd lost, and everything we'd survived. I shook my head. Sometimes. But mostly, I'm grateful I finally saw her for who she was, and who I am without her. He squeezed my hand. You're not alone. Not anymore. A week later, a final envelope arrived, no return address. Inside, a photo of Ivy and me as kids, beaming and inseparable. On the back, her handwriting. You were always the strong one. Goodbye. I stared at the photo, tears slipping down my cheeks. I'd never have the sister I wanted, but maybe, at last, we both understood the truth. For the first time, I faced the future with hope, ready to write my own story, no matter who watched. Life settled into a gentle rhythm. The world didn't erase the past. There were still scars and memories that hurt if I pressed too hard, but the heaviness had faded. Dad and I grew close again, finding solace in small, shared rituals. Breakfast at the old diner, quiet evenings with tea and board games. Even Mom thawed, bit by bit, until her texts ended with tiny hearts and she let herself cry in my arms, grieving the daughter she'd lost and the family we could still be. Mark became my anchor, his patience and laughter breathing new life into rooms I thought would always feel haunted. One evening, we watched the sun rise over the city, pink and gold light bathing us in hope. You really made it through, you know, he whispered. Not just survived. You built something new. Painting helped, too. My canvases grew brighter, full of wild colors and bold strokes. I started selling them online, signing each piece with my real name. No longer afraid to be seen, no longer just Ivy's twin. I got a letter from Ivy's lawyer, her final appeal denied. She'd be away for years. A pang of guilt hit me, but it was softer now, faded by time and acceptance. In therapy, I learned to forgive myself, if not her. One night, I sat at my desk, flipping through old journals. I read entries from before everything went wrong. My dreams, my lists, my childish scribbles about being invincible with Ivy. I realized that girl was gone, but in her place stood someone stronger, wiser, and, finally, free. My phone buzzed. Mark's message, dinner on the rooftop? To new beginnings? I smiled, grabbing my keys. I looked in the mirror, just me, at last, and felt the sun rising in my own heart. No matter what, I'd chosen my truth. And this time, the light belonged to me. Months passed. The city bloomed around me, fresh lilacs at the market, sun-warmed sidewalks, laughter echoing through open windows. My life had a different cadence now, gentle and self-made. The world saw me, not as a victim, not as a twin, but as myself. Mark and I built something quietly beautiful. He never asked me to hide the painful parts of my story. He just held my hand through them. One sunny morning, he surprised me with a canvas, blank and bright, and a note. Paint the life you want. I'll be here to cheer you on. Dad started coming to my art shows, pride in his eyes. Mom took longer, but one night, she hugged me so fiercely it felt like forgiveness. I lost one daughter, she whispered, but I found you again. Ivy sent one last letter. Her handwriting was shaky, less defiant. You were always stronger. Maybe you saved us both. Goodbye. I cried when I read it, not out of grief, but for all the hope and pain tangled together. One evening, as dusk turned the sky gold, I hung my final painting from the series, a portrait of two girls beneath a fractured, blooming tree, separate, but both reaching toward the sun. The room filled with people who loved me for my honesty, my resilience, my story. Mark toasted to healing. Dad wiped away tears. I stood in that bright gallery, feeling whole, unbreakable. For the first time, I realized I wasn't just the survivor of my sister's betrayal. I was the author of my own story, one where forgiveness and freedom belonged to me. As the night drew in, I locked eyes with my reflection in the gallery glass. Just me, finally. And in that quiet triumph, I knew no one could steal my truth ever again.